How's it, Sean from Combat Simulations? Welcome to my overview and tutorial for SGS's Operation Downfall. So before we get started, please subscribe to my channel, it's free, and also leave comments and suggestions. And watch my videos and share them and like them. It helps me a lot, I promise, it does. So what is SGS's Operation Downfall? It's a hypothetical invasion, amphibious invasion of Japan. At the end of the Second World War. If the atomic bomb hadn't been invented, or if it had been delayed or something, they had to find a way to take Japan out of the war, and this would have been the operation. The Americans made detailed plans of it, because you can look on on YouTube. You look at all the operation, and there's detailed plans. They got all the divisions and everybody. So the guys sat down, because at that stage the Americans, the U.S. Army and the Navy didn't know about the bomb. It was a highly secretive event, thing that was happening. So they didn't know that it was coming, and they had to make a plan for it. And they had two plans. The first plan was the Navy came up with a plan to blockade Japan. They hoped that would win. They'd blockade it for 6 months to a year, and then just bomb the shit out of it and starve it into submission. But no, how's that ever going to work? I mean, they've been bombing Japan for over a year already, or 2 years or 3 years, and they hadn't done anything. That Japan wasn't even closer to surrender, and then starve the population. How would the world take that? How would people around humanity? I mean, immoral, bad. So that's what Navy came up with. That was off the plan, because they wouldn't accept that. So the only next option was to invade Japan. Now Japan is a very difficult country because they're fanatical. They're not like the Germans. The Germans, they didn't need the atomic bomb for the Germans because they invaded the country. And as soon as they invaded Germany, the guys gave up. The Germans gave up. Japan was a different nature, a different beast here. They invented the kamikaze. It's the only nation in the world at that time that didn't. They had the kamikaze going. So they put people in planes and stuff like that, and boats and whatever, and they drove them into the other boats, or flew them into boats and flew them into troops with human beings inside there. So guys sacrificed their lives for the emperor. They considered him God. If you look at the invasion of Iwo Jima and all that, the Japanese fought to the death with all their kamikaze planes, and they just didn't know about surrendering and giving up. So how? Now, to give you an idea, there were two operations. The Operation Downfall consisted of two operations. We'll read about it now when I go through the game. That consisted of two operations. One was Operation Olympic, and the other one's Coronet. So Operation Olympic was for the first 6 months, and they would invade the island of Kyūshū. This is the bottom side of Japan, the southernmost island of Japan. And then from there, they would use that as a staging post. And then 6 months later, they would invade Operation Coronet, and then they would invade the homeland, the main island of Japan, and then hoping to surround Tokyo. And then the Russians had also invade from the north. They also had a plan to invade. So this whole operation covers it. Now, if you look at the planning for Kyūshū, there's only a few. And I'll show it to you now when we go through the game. There's only a few places where you can land in Japan. It's not like in Normandy where you could land all 100 beaches. There's only like 4 or 5 beaches you could land. So the Japanese knew to make it worse, they knew where the Allies were coming. And Kyūshū, they knew that the Americans were going to land there first. Because, I mean, they needed to. The other islands they had in Okinawa was too far away. So they needed a staging base. So they knew they were going to land there, and they put in 1,000,000 troops into that island to defend that island. Plus, they could call on 15 million volunteers, women and children. Now, the Americans planning just on Kyūshū up to 1,000,000 men to put into Kyūshū, just to take over Kyūshū. That's that bottom island. You'll see it now. Can you imagine the bloodbath when it came to that? I mean, can you imagine the bloodbath? So, and I mean, the Japanese are not going to surrender easily, and that's a million Japanese troops. They estimated between 1 and 3 million Allied casualties, dead wounded. 1 in 3 million. This has never been heard in history. So that's a bit of the background of Operation Downfall. And I'll show you, when I go through the game, I'll do a little tutorial and you see how the game actually works. And you'll see the islands I'm talking about. Fascinating campaign. Very fascinating hypothetical fight that would have happened if they didn't drop the bomb. Because the Operation Down, if you see my channel, I have Stalingrad, the Battle for Stalingrad, which is also another SGS title. Now, they've made a whole lot of titles from Modern War, from the NATO's Nightmare down to Korea and all these guys here. I'll just give you an idea. These are like We the People, which is the American War of Independence. They've made all of these different conflicts with the system. The same system that they use with all of them. Even the battle system's very much the same. It's just a little bit different. I'll explain to you the difference that I picked up. Very, very, very subtle differences. And it's the same system that Evelyn Hill, it's like ported from a board game. But it's a great, great, great campaign, great simulation because it's so dynamic and so keeps you on toes, and it's very alive, if I'd like to put it that way. All right, well, I'll explain. You'll see when I do the tutorial how the mechanics of it works. But I'll just go through Now you've got the video tutorials of the actual battle. Now it comes online. You can play it now, so you don't have to go out of the game to get the videos. They are part of the game.
Hello and welcome to Operation
So this guy, I think this is the designer, Philippe. He's a Frenchman. He's actually doing this.
Japan in 1940.
Okay, I'm not going to go through all that. Now, the credits go. Yeah, this Philippe Tbol. He designs these SGS, Winter War, Stalingrad, Africa Corps, all of that from the same game system. Now he's designing it now for Evelyn. He came from the AGEOD system. If you remember, that's that WeGo system. You know, the simultaneous move system. Birth of America, American Civil War, Rise of Prussia, 30 Years War, English Civil War, all those games, all those types that used the WeGo system, simultaneous move. Brilliant guy. Innovative thinking. Great games. Great games. He's a very brilliant thinker, and he had those great games. I don't know why those games were kind of niche and cliche. They were smaller type games. They didn't. I mean, not a lot of people knows about it, but primarily war games. Brilliant designer. Really great. I loved all of his games. And he's obviously developing these SGSs. Okay, so you've got all the standard stuff. I keep the thing on expert down here because I find the AI is just a bit timid on advanced and beginner, so it's best on expert. And you've got all the usual stuff. There's resolutions and all that type of stuff. Okay, so let's start with a new game. Now I'm just going to run through there's your Operation Downfall. This is the main big campaign, and it consists of Operation Olympic and Coronet. So Operation Olympic is where they attacked Kyūshū. They went through Kyūshū, the Kyūshū Island. So let me just read this, just to give you a bit of a background, more than because I mean I'm not an expert at this, but it's a fascinating story, fascinating campaign, simulation. Operation Downfall is a proposed Allied plan for the invasion of the Japanese home islands near the end of World War II. The operation is two parts, Operation Olympic and Operation Coronet. Set to begin in November 1945, Downfall will be the largest amphibious operation in history. Japan's geography makes this invasion quite obvious to the Japanese as well, and they are able to accurately predict the Allied invasion plans and thus adjust their defensive plan. Operation Ketsugu accordingly. The Japanese plan an all-out defense of Kyūshū with little left in reserve for any subsequent defense operations. Casualty predictions vary widely but are extremely high. Depending on the degree to which Japanese civilians resist the invasion, estimates run up into the millions for Allied casualties. So you can imagine the ferociousness and the bloodbath that this would have been. All right, so I'm just going to run through one turn of Operation Olympic and just show you what the difference is between this game and Stalingrad, and how the game differs. Okay, so this is the first U.S. playing. So this is just a story on what this operation is about, and then you've got the operation on the options, which is probably your. Now you comes up with this. This is the first sort of new difference between Stalingrad, and that is the battle series doesn't have this where you can pick the historical setup. So you've got 3 or 4 choices, and then they variants of what they considered was the historical setup of what they considered would have been. So I'll pick the historical setup, and yeah, and then you get some more cards given to you. So it works in the same thing. You first receive your cards. I think the sound is a bit low, yeah. Let me just make sure I put it up a little bit. The audio, let's put it a little bit higher. Yeah. Okay, so then this is your normal card draw. You have here your victory points, and then all the troops are listed in there that's taking part in the operation, and your Japanese also has these victory points there. This is the peace index. Now you'll see that the game runs. Let me just put this on. The game runs. You see these little stars here, right? You see these little stars. Those are victory point locations, right? That means every time you take your troops move into that victory point location, you get that victory point. So if you look at the, let me just look at the structure. So it's 1 victory point you get. Now okay, let me just cut that out there. Every time you take these, you get 1 victory point, and then if he takes it back, he gets 1. Now, at the end of the game, they add up all the victory points, and the one with the highest victory points is the winner. But there are differences, like in this scenario, and it tells you in the scenario notes that this area before this Kuma River place here, these areas here, there's 8 regions, and if Japan has one by turn 8. If Japan has one infantry unit in any of these regions, you lose. So you get that from the rules. Let me just. No, not the rules. Where is it now? Scenario information. Sorry, there. Let me just get down. Yeah. So he has immediate victory. So the Japanese players wins at the end of turn 8. Any of the 8 regions south. Okay, so it's opening this up for me. When you press that thing, it goes into the rules. It's on the website. So he wins it on turn 8 if any of the 8 regions on southwest Kyūshū are controlled and occupied by at least 1 land unit. So you got to make sure you kick him out. Otherwise, at the end of the game, the victory points is counted up, and you compared your victory points against his. You also have a peace index here, which goes up 1 every time you conquer this region with a victory point with a star there. You see these little stars there. Every time you conquer it, you get a peace point goes up. One of these tension index points, peace faction influence points. And then if he comes and takes it back, he gets that peace point and you lose it. So that's really how the game works. Now it runs into a series of turns. Now we're going to play one turn. Let me just give you an idea. These are that's the turn end, and then it starts with the turn start. The card draws the airbase return, reinforcements, naval movement, battle list, siege list, aerial bombardment, airbase return, and then air defensive move. That's the sequence of play. Now I'm just gonna we at the end of the turn, so I'm just gonna let the Japanese run their turn. Yeah, so they just run this. Now they can also pick a historical option or variance. Now you'll see they lose points when you pick those. When you pick those, okay, I've got to draw these cards now, and I'll show you how they. Let me throw one away here. Okay, so I'll just throw that away. I didn't read it, but I'll throw that away. Now, he didn't pick the historical one because I see he's got 0 points now. So he must have picked a variant. So the computer then picks variants in each game, different variants, and it makes the game more unique and dynamic. Now, the difference between this and Stalingrad, the battle series, on all the SGS battle series, they give you order cards. So you get like 3 order cards per turn. And you can pick which one of your troops or planes, well, your troops are allowed to move out of the 20, say, you got down there. In these campaign games, that falls away. There's no order cards. You can move all your units at once or leave them. There's no per turns. There's no order cards for 3 or 4 for per turn. You can order everybody on the field, and also your and I'll show you this now. Your aeroplanes don't share stacking points with your artillery. Your artillery doesn't cause any stacking points. There's no stacking point value for the artillery. It's still 5 for the airfare, but they don't share it with the artillery. That's the only difference. And you'll see with all these SGS games is the core rules, the core way of playing, all this stuff. Yeah, this is what makes it so simple. All of this is all the same. It's only the nuances for that particular battle. You understand? That are fitted in and changed. But all the base rules stay the same. The sequence of play, the whatever. So it's so easy to play Stalingrad and for me to pick this up. It's like I didn't even need to read any rules to pick this up. I just need to find out that's how easy this game is to pick up and play each one. So now I've drawn all my cards. So I've got no cards to select now. This is just, I'll show you, I'll explain all this. That's just the part of the flavor and the tutorial parts and how that. Now you get your reinforcements. It just tells you what reinforcements have come. So you get, and then the supply strategy. This is very different in this, and this is, maybe I should read this. What this is explaining is that you only allowed 2 turns of supply when your troops land ashore, and you've got to find a supply for them. So you've got to find a harbor. You've got to take over a region with a harbor to get so that you can have future supply. And they will also build a mulberry harbor. And they tell you now in Nishan. See there, I'm highlighting. They also build you must also take this region over to build a mulberry harbor. Okay. So that's also, you need to build that. That's also, and you got 2 turns to do that. That's really what that's telling us. Now here's the differences also between all the SGS. Now they're unique to the Japanese or kamikaze raids, and you get this. The planes get attacked and your aircraft. You lose. That's part of it. Where you lose. It doesn't always happen, but it highlights what was lost from a kamikaze fight, bombing. Another difference here between Stalingrad and this game is the strategic bombing. The strategic bombing in this game, your strategic bombers can't participate in the air defense, and they also can't bomb troops. They can only bomb structures. So if they bomb an area, they won't bomb the troops, but they'll bomb the structures and the forts and stuff in there. That's another difference. And then you've got the fighters. I'll get to the fighters now. The aeroplanes that can only shoot other aeroplanes down. All right, so now we got the air and land naval bombardment has come. So I can now, and you can split up you see I'm highlighting there, then I split. See, I split. Now let me just see if I can highlight this. There is no stacking limits for this. And I'm going to talk to you about the troops now. So you can throw as many bombs as you want to on any terrain. So I'm going to send the bombs there, and I'm going to send another bomb. I'm going to send one there. So now, when it comes to me landing, this phase won't activate now. It'll activate after I've moved, and it will be with my troops. It'll support my troops. Then I've got the aeroplanes now that I can send. Now I can only. There's stacking limits for aeroplanes. So you only 5 stacking limits. Now your planes, you'll see here. Let me just pick that one. There's their stacking limit. So you can only put 5 planes in an area, and the troops and your infantry and that all have stacking limits. Like your land units, if I click on the bottom there, you see my mouses. Your land units have 8 and 6, and each of your land units have different stack. Like tanks will have a higher stack, so it's simple to understand. So I'm going to now throw. There's 5 of these, right? I'm going to now, if I want to split them off, I split them off the section. Now I can drag them across like I've done there, right? And they now, okay, they now will participate in that fight with the bombs. If I take this now and I need to put 5. I want to separate 5 now. I'm going to split it up. I hope I'm explaining this. I can also, instead of dragging them, I can right click on them, see them change color, and I can just left click over there. And then they just fly over there. So there's 2 ways to move the troops, right? So I've not finished with my bombing. I'm going to now, I've got another 5 units. I'll put those 5 units here. So now I've got 5 bombers there, 5 bombers there. I've got 3 artillery there and 3 artillery. That's from the US submarines. Now, they finished now. Now I'm going to throw my strategic bombs. Now I can throw them anywhere, but I got to realize that... oh, there they are. There. Now I'm going to right click on them. I've got 5 of them. And I'm going to throw those ones inland. Now, I can't put them with where I've put my bombers because the stacking is only 5. There's only enough for them. So I've got to put my strategic bombers. And I think I've got 1 here. He won't be able to fit in there. No. Oh, he would. Oh, he would. I wonder why. Let me just look here. The stacking. Oh, I've only got 3 in there. I thought I put more aeroplanes in there. Or did I put any aeroplanes? Did I put all my aeroplanes in? I thought I put more aeroplanes in there. Jeez. Okay, that one's limited. This one, I thought I put more planes in there. Well, I've only got 3, so I must have put only 2. Alright, that's fine. I mean, they're there now. I can't list them either. Okay, so your planes, just got to remember that you only got 5, the stacking limit of the planes. This one is 3, also 5. Now, for some reason, I only put 3 planes in there. I don't know how that happened. But there I've got the 5 aeroplanes. But you get my idea there. So this one now, I'm just going to take 5 of these. I'm going to take them off. So they'll make a group there. And then was it this? Oh, shit. No, hang on. No, that's 18. Okay, it's this one. All right, so I'm going to now bomb over there. And I'm going to now bomb over there. Alright, so I've taken all my planes. Now this is just in the air naval bombardment, where you're setting up your bombing. I'm going to show you how the land one works. Now my fighters, I can send them. I can also right click and send them. Now your fighters don't participate because if you look at the fighters, they only have an air-to-air. They have an air attack of 4 and an air defense of 4. Air defense. And they've got movement. There's no land bombing. If you look here at these bombers, you'll see all the airplanes that have a land attack and a defense on the land, and that means they can bomb the land, the troops on the ground. Same with the tactical bombs. They've got a land combat factor. You understand? And an air one. But the fighters only have an air. So you can right click and also move them like the other ones, but you can also move them like this. Now when you move them, you see they turn. There's an interception. You see that yellow line that says possible interception. That means, okay, let's just see if I can get them to move. Okay, so there. Okay, so I'm going to get them to move. You're going to see they're going to fight a little in. Oh, they didn't. Okay, well, I don't know how. But there's a possible interception. So it's Japan's fighters will climb up and dogfight with them. So you can use your fighters for air superiority around the island to help combat the enemy fighters. That's what the airplanes for. the fighters of all. Now let me just end the turn. So I'll end the naval phase bombardment. This now was a dogfight. See those fighters? They went through a dogfight, and you can see they shot down 2 planes. You usually see it when it happens, but we weren't fast enough. Okay. And the ops casualties. Now when you do an amphibious landing, it does a simulated. There you see the simulated. It simulates casualties from landing amphibiously. That's just the initial when you land. That's simulating those casualties. Now your troops. Let me just give you an idea here. Let me just give you the factors of what the troops. So you've got the defense and the attack. Sorry, man. The attack. This is the combat. This is the attack. One is the 2, and the defense is 3 of this unit. It tells you what it is. It's the 25th Infantry Division. It tells you the moves. It gives you the steps. So this is how much strength it has. So every time you fight, it loses steps, and then when it's finished, it end here. When it clears out all the steps are gone, it dies. Then it tells you its stacking value. It's a 2. And then it tells you it's infantry and non-motorized. It tells you combat, land infantry can follow, breakthrough, and beachhead times 2 or 2. So what that means is, if we look at the stacking limits for units, there's 8 there. So he would take up 2 of those slots. You with me? And he's also, and remember, his movement is 3. So if I right click on any of these regions, it tells me what their move cost is, 2. So he won't be able to move in there because it costs 3, and he won't be able to move in. No, he might be able to move in there. He could probably move in there. I could move him through there because he has only 2 and he has 1. So it tells you there very clearly his move cost is 3. So that's how you figure out how far these guys can move. So, and then his cannon has got attack 3 and defense 3, and he's stacking a limit of 1. So you move them the same as the infantry. I can right click, or I can just put them in there. All right, then he will now take part in this fight. I have another one here, and I'll put them in there. And it's telling me we'll engage in battle. Beachhead. Well, it's not telling me now. Beachhead white, and it tells you +2 and the move cost available and what's available. You can see that. And then I'll move this one in here because we must take this island here because it's got a port that we need to get within 2 turns. Okay, so that's the movement in there. Now what you do is, when that's all finished, you've moved everything, moved your planes around, shot your artillery, then you fight. Then it gives you a whole list of battles, right? That are all these battles, and now you go to the battles. Now, in each battle, you get cards. Like I can choose from a number of cards to assist me in this battle. So I will put this one. It tells me this planes will make direct attacks at close range on enemy positions. 1 hit applied to enemy forces during artillery support phase of this battle. So I can put him in there. Now that will be applied to the battle. And then I can put smoke screen. But I don't want to use all my cards. That's all I'll use because I got other battles. Now he can put defensive, also historical cards to put in for the Emperor. Now what happens here is you've got morale on 4 there, and I've got 3 on his side. Now each round of the battle, you lose 1 morale is lost. It goes down by 1 morale. And when your side, any of the sides, or your side gets to -1, under 0, then you do a route test. Okay, and that determines if you'll stay in battle. And if you don't pass it, then you out. Then you retreat or get defeated. If that doesn't happen, then you play to the end of the rounds. There's 3 rounds. There's a attack phase, I think, and there's 2 battle rounds. And usually, I know it's just playing without me now. Let's just fight this. Okay, we got this place now. The battle stops. The battle stops going. I've made it pause so I can get my breath. So he had a -1, which means his morale was below, and he took those tests and he didn't pass them. Now you'll see that everything adds to the morale. The cards add to it, the terrain adds to it, they tell you the battle fatigue adds to it. You get fatigue whenever you fight. The Air Force bonus, you see that written there. And he's also got it over here. And his cards add to it. Now you also got each of your units. Okay, yeah, you see down there. Now each of your units also, you see here, down here by the bombing terrain air bombing penalty, the combat factor boost, entrenched penalties. He's entrenched. These are all the penalties that apply to your aeroplanes when you're fighting him. And you'll see here all your bonuses and things. Combat factor boost, entrenched penalty, morale boost. All of this adds, and even your artillery, all the entrenched penalty, the morale boost. So all adds, and he's does the same. His terrain defense, his land combat modifier, and whether he's entrenched, and this all adds up, and then you fight the battle with all those modifiers applied. Now we won that one, right? So this is just the aeroplanes. He's going to put a defensive card, and then we fight. And now the aeroplanes, you can't take over the province or the region because you're in aeroplanes. Aeroplanes are not like boots on the ground. They can't take over areas, but you can whittle him down and destroy structures. So we'll fight this one, yeah? Then I'll put one in there, and I'll put that one in there. And that's all. I'll need the other one for the other place. So then I will fight him. You can see at the bottom here it says 81, and here it says 19. This is 81 chance of me winning the fight. This particular fight. And then the number of units that have routed on this side are for him, and the number on this side for me. And then you have an artillery and a bombardment preparation phase. That's the artillery, and then the bombardment. Okay, it didn't go to the other phases, but you have 3 phases of fire and maneuver and whatever. And what happens is, those phases, they only run for 3 times, right? So if you don't dislodge the defender within those 3 times, then that defender kind of stays there. I've noticed that the defender then is not dislodged. The defender wins. So it's on your onus of you to lodge him out of there within the 3 turns. You're with me? I hope so. I'm trying to. So he's now. This is the strategic bombing. This is like a. I don't know what. Yeah, this is rocks. This rocks should be like a structure. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So the Japanese soldiers grayed out, right? So he can only bombard this structure over here. This guy can bombard the Japanese soldier, but this guy can only. He's a strategic bomber. He can only bomb this. He can only affect that. See, he's only affecting that every time he bombs. And this guy had his shot already. And then you fight over there. This is my troops going in here. So now I've got the 3. I can now add cards. I'll add in a whole lot of cards because I wanna take this province because this is the port. Now he's gonna explode with it. But the combat is not 100% sure. You can think you have 81% of the time. Sometimes you think you got 81 to 8, and you're fighting this battle, and he's the leader, and he runs away, and he still wins the fight. Now, the combat is quite complicated. I don't know. I'm still working out how the combat works, but there's some occasions where you eliminate him completely, and he still wins the fight. Okay, that's what I got in Stalingrad. So you can't always be sure that you're going to win the fight. You can put your best troops and do the best combat you can, but it's not 100% sure whether you can always win the fight. I've noticed that with these combats. And it's because I don't think I understand the combat. I bitched and moaned about it in Stalingrad. I thought the combat was a bit janky because there are plenty of times when I thought I'd won the combat and I lost it. And made no sense. I'd completely wiped him out and I lost it. And it happened to me too. It happened to me. Like I thought, he came and attacked me, and I thought, geez, I'm lost. I've lost this combat, and I won it. It happened to me too. And I try to read up about it, but the combat is little bit of truce, and so I'm not sure if I understand the combat properly sometimes, or the combat's janked. I think I don't know enough about the combat because the entire series has got that same type of. Sometimes you'll think you're winning the combat and you lose it. So I think I don't understand the combat that well. But yeah, you get that. Now, every time you win a region over, if there's a structure in there, you've got to siege it. And I need to. The surrender level is 7, so I have to get a 7 or lower. That's what I need, and I success because I got a 1. All right. So I won that one because I had a 1. And there's the siege results. There we go. And I get 1 victory point and 1's added towards me. I get that extra victory point. And of course I get the index of 2 there. Because I took this point, there was this victory point, and there was nobody in there. Alright, so that's the air. Now I put my air defenses. Now this last phase is your air defense. So I'd have my planes, and I'm gonna put it in regions. So yeah, and I'm just split it over there. And I'm going to put this in regions where I want, well, I am putting it in there. What's the problem? Or there. Yeah, so I'm putting it in there to defend. I'll put 5 of these. Split them. And I'll put them in there. So this is the turn. Now it's best to put this on here. This is the turn where you are now putting your air assets. Oh. Okay, so he's going to, let me just, okay, so I have 2 there. He's going to come and defend there. So it's just to defend my areas that I've taken. So if he now attacks me, I have aeroplanes in there defending it. That's your defense move. You also have it with the artillery. You can also put, but I've seen this one, you don't have artillery. The strategic bombers don't take part in this phase of the battle. And also you also can't put you can't, let me just see. Yeah, you can't, this thing, yeah, it also doesn't move. So you can't move the fighters out either. It also doesn't, that's a difference. Fighters are new. Okay, so you hit the end with the air defenses. Then you just do your replacements. So this is right at the end where it asks you, now you have, like I have 1 replacement, right? And the number of replacements, if I take 1 replacement and he needed a replacement, I would get 3 replacements for my 1 that went in there. But it's not always working out like that. Sometimes you need 2 replacements to put in 1 replacement. It's equal to 1. So these are just 1, 2, 3. There's nothing I need replaced. And I won't, he hasn't got 2. Oh, he's got 2. So if I put him in there, he gets 3. He's a 1, 2, 3. See, I get 3 for that. But your tanks and some of the units only, like I said, you will need to put 1. It'll want 2 of these to put 1 replacement in the unit, especially your tanks. So this varies. It can be quite expensive. So, and this carries over. So you can save these up. So I've put the replacement in there. Then the supply strategy, I've explained that part with the Marlborough Harbour. Then you end your turn. Now the Japanese then moves. And this is the end turn phase. Like your summary, you can see all the defeats, all the victories, the sieges, and you can actually go and see where they were. You can see all the casualties, who got what on your side and his side, how many oaks got casualties. You can look at all the cards you used, the cards he used, the cards he used and you used. It's just a summary of the end of the turn. And then he plays. He does his supply. He does his air bombardment, naval bombardment. And he's finished. Well, no, he's doing his land movement now. So he's bringing in planes. He brought in planes to bombard me there. He's just bombing my place where I was. That's what he did. And he doesn't do much to the Japanese, obviously. And then you get to end of turn summary and boom. And then you got your card draw. Right? And this is just the historical. I'm not going to read that. We'll just add our... And then you can play your cards. And there you go. And then this is now your card draw. Now hang on. Let me just put this here in the corner there. And then I will just proceed with the same movement. It's rinse and repeat. I would get my air bombing phase and my artillery phase and then my movement phase. And then I want to then advance into here. And I get scout cards. This is not a scout card. It's like an operational pause card. I didn't read it. But you get scout cards, reconnaissance cards, also cards. And then you can, and then asks you in the reconnaissance phase to highlight where you want to get intelligence. And you highlight that. And you can see all the units in there and what's in there and the infantry. So it's very simple, a simple game. You understand? You play with click and move. You move your troops, move your artillery, your air phase, your airplanes, and you just rinse and repeat. It's such a simple game. And if you know one phase, like I know the Stalingrad, this was like a piece of cake for me. I didn't have to learn how to do this. There were just a few nuances with the air fighters, the fighter air, and the strategic bomb. A few nuances here and there, and the fact that the biggest one is that you don't need the 3 order cards. And how's your father? Then we done. Off we go, playing like an. All the series is like this, very very similar. Just take a different conflict, use the same system, and then just put their nuances for that particular conflict in there, and then you got that whole thing going. Brilliant system. I find this system brilliant as a simulation war game because it's so dynamic and so easy to use. You can, it's not like sometimes you play war games and you half asleep. Sometimes you snooze and then he snoozes and then you move and then you snooze and then he has to wake you up when you're gonna move. That's how some war games go. They're just too overcomplicated, realistic, that they lose the fun factor and they lose the actual combat, what it's really about. This game is dynamite. It keeps you on your toes. You never got nothing to do. You're always wondering, well, am I supplied? Am I in the back? Did I put the planes in the right place? And it keeps you thinking at all the times. It's a brilliant system from Avalon Digital. And that's why they made so many of them. They're making so many because it's such a good system. Such a good system. You're constantly being driven and and keeping you on your toes at all the times. And you're thinking about stuff. And then before you know, then he's behind you. And I've never encountered a war game quite like this. A turn-based war game. Usually you get with real-time war games, you constantly on your toes and whatever, more on your toes. But the turn-based one, usually you're half asleep, man. Unless the game's really good. There's some good games obviously around that are turn-based. But some of these ones where you're just playing for time and the whole time, man. This keeps you on the toes. I know I'll carry on about it. But yeah. Now, there are other couple of things. If you right-click on a province, then you get an explanation of it. There's a modifier for the defender and a modifier for the attacker. So he gets the one defensive he's defending. There's a pursuit, says yes, there's a breakthrough. So my troops that are here, these guys that I had here, if I had tanks with them, after one battle, it might say to me, you can follow up this attack and attack this area. Now, that means basically I can go straight away right now without having to wait my next turn to move my units. That's the breakthrough. It says allow supply, and that's just the explanation of that. And then on some of these regions, you have a structure which you might need to assault, and also the structure will tell you what you gain when you conquer this region. It's 2 victory points, and each one is different. Can be 2, can be 1, can be 5. It depends. But your job is to conquer all these. So basically, with this scenario, I'll sum it up for you. I've got to make sure I conquer all these regions without leaving him in that region. Any troops he mustn't have. Not even one troop he must have in these beside. Below this river here. So this area I must completely control before 8 turns, otherwise he wins. And thereafter, it's a victory point thing. I've got the one who holds all the victory points, and those are the victory points. That's where you earn your victory points, will win the game at the end of turn 8. And then your peace index, as you take those victory points, you get your peace index rises, and as he reclaims them back from you again, the peace index drops. And when the peace index gets so high to a certain level, then Japan will sue for peace and they will surrender. And that's all there is to this. Now, this part is operation. There's operation. This is Kyūshū. I can't pronounce it. Yeah, Kyūshū. This is the island that America must conquer. Yeah, where they're going to send their 500,000 troops, and the Japanese are going to put 1,000,000 troops that I was talking about. And this is the mainland of Japan. Now, Operation Coronet would invade over here, somewhere down here, this beach over here, and then try to surround Tokyo, and then take the mainland of Japan. And then the Russians could possibly come in here. That's part of the scenario. It depends on what actually happens. They invade on the northern side. But Operation Olympic is the first one, 6 months, and then the coronation starts over there. Now, this is where Japan has stuck most of its units and everything, and it's defending this very hard. And that's Operation Downfall in a nutshell. I think I've explained everything. Here you get, this is the menu bar mini map. You can open up the inspector. It's the same as right-clicking on here. You get this inspector thing. You got the regions here. You can go to each region. I can type in a region. Then all the structures owned by the Japanese and owned by me. All the places that are owned by the Japanese, you can go there or even type. And then the order of battle of my troops. This is the Americans that I have at the moment on the field, and I can go to every American or every unit or aeroplane that I've got with Americans. And that's it. And then you've got a summary here of your of all those like the tension index, the random chance for each, and this is also highlighting those little notes that came up, the historical notes that I can come back and refer to. And that's it. And then here you've just got on each scenario, you've got the scenario information, which is the story about the whole battle, the Olympic, the immediate victory, and the bonus victory XP, and what you need to win. That's it. This is it. This is Operation Downfall from SGS. It's a brilliant series. And it's the same with Stalingrad, very similar. The only difference is now we're doing amphibious landings. We're playing as the Americans invading Japan. I think I covered everything. I don't know if I've missed something. Let's go to the main menu. Yeah. I don't know if I missed anything. I don't know. I'm obviously, to cover an operation like this or a game like this, you miss lots of stuff. There's lots of nuances I miss. But I hope I gave you the essence of the game, the basic essence of the core function of how the game actually works. Why did I choose Operation Downfall? Because it's fascinating. It's a fascinating insight to a hypothetical campaign that could have happened. Could have happened. If America didn't invent the atomic bomb, Germany didn't need it. America and Britain would have gone into Germany. They didn't need the bomb for Germany, but the bomb was needed for Japan. But if they didn't invent it, or it wasn't on schedule, or wasn't on time, or maybe it was a year coming, it was invented at the right time, because I'll tell you now, I hate atomic bombs. Nobody likes atomic bombs for our present place where we are in the world. Everybody wants to downsize in atomic bombs. But this period, the atomic bomb was needed. This is the only time I say the atomic bomb was needed, because Japan wasn't going to surrender. Their Bushido code, they were fanatical. Kamikazes flying into people's ships and offering up their lives for their emperor, who they thought was God. They weren't going to surrender, even if you blockaded and you starved them out. They weren't going to surrender. Can you imagine that whole thing lasting a year or something, blockading them, starving out our population? And then if we didn't invade them, maybe we could maybe get a condition. Then there were all kinds of conditions, and you would never get them out of power. And that same government would still live there. And I can tell you now, they would have gone and invaded somebody else. You would never have. So you had to have an unconditional surrender from Japan. Their psyche demanded it. You couldn't negotiate with them. You couldn't. You couldn't really. So the Americans, I mean, you go look on the internet. They developed a plan for this, because they knew that this is where they had to go. There was no negotiation. They couldn't get past it. And they sat down. They were prepared to do it. Now, can you imagine the bloodbath? I know I've said this now earlier, the bloodbath that would have happened. All those women and children believing in the end and suicide kamikazes and whatever, but digging them out of hills. I mean, look what happened at Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Now you put a million Japanese in that Kyūshū, that bottom island. They put a million Japanese and 5 to 10 million volunteers and whatever. Dug in there. Now you're going to go land 200 or 300,000 Americans in there to root them out. Hey, you're looking at over 1 million casualties, American casualties, dead, dying, and wounded. Up to 1 to 3 million casualties. Nobody ever heard of that in any war. Can you imagine what we'd have faced in it? The atomic bomb was needed. This is the only time that everybody debates could they have gotten? They couldn't have. They wasn't needed for Germany, but Japan needed the atomic bomb. There was no way. It saved so many lives. It saved It saved Japan's lives, their cities. It saved, and it saved the American lives. This was the only time the atomic bomb was invented for the right purpose. Was it there? And I'm sad to say it, but you look at what that battle on Japan would have done. It's a fascinating conflict. We don't have to go through it because they dropped the bomb, and that's the whole story's over now. That's in history. But it's a fascinating look at an alternative world that we would have had to deal with had they had not had the atomic bomb order, and Americans would have had to do it straight away. They couldn't have waited a year or two for the atomic bomb. They had to go in there now. So yeah, it's fascinating. I'm very fascinated by this. This was an operation I wanted to play. It was really, really interesting and unique and different. This operation was really something I wanted to explore. Anyway, that's my take on this and my ramblings on about this. I think I covered everything. I hope I have. I think I probably left stuff out. I would have left stuff out. I know when I look at these videos, I think to myself, "Jeez, I should have mentioned that." And oof, why didn't I mention that? And I shouldn't have mentioned that. It always happens that way. But I think I got the gist of it. I think I got the crux of how these SGS games work and how this one works without going through everything and spending too much time on it. All right. Yeah, I think that's it. Sean from Combat Simulations. Please subscribe to my channel. It's free. And also leave comments and suggestions. And watch my videos and like them and share them. Helps me a lot. It really does. It really helps me. Until our next overview and tutorial video or any other video, good day on you.